Hey, hello, everybody. Kerry Schafer here on Tell Me Your Secrets today. And before we get any farther, I just apologize if things are glitchy. We're having one of those where the internet is echoing and we seem to be echoing. Julia has to go out and come back and fix it, but we're here. I'm excited to be here with another edition of Tell Me Your Secrets. And today we have the writer duo known as Cassidy Lucas. And I'm just now getting to really see their faces and get to know their names. And because we had tech difficulties, we didn't talk in the green room really very much other than, oh my God, what are we going to do? So hi, Julia and Caeli. Am I pronouncing that right? That should be the first thing I ask. Is it Caeli?
Oh, few people pronounce it right. It's a tough one. It's actually Caeli.
Caeli. Okay.
Yeah, there's an invisible H in there.
Yeah, well, I like that. And it's not spelled like the usual Caeli, and so therefore
confuses people.
It's Latin. It's Latin for heaven.
Really?
It's true. Yeah, that is the origin.
When Caeli and I first met, she took one of my classes in Brooklyn many years ago in my kitchen. And I had just coincidentally taken Latin in high school, but I cut a lot of classes, but I knew what Caeli meant. So that was exciting for me personally. I don't know about you.
That's actually really, I'm fascinated by names, and I love that. I like Latin. I did some when I was in college, not enough. So
Me too.
I get that. And I know French, so I can see how that is. So heaven, that's really cool. So you started us on a really nice trajectory, because that's one thing I'm always curious about with writers who work together. How did you guys meet? Oh, you met in the class.
You had the last echo, so I'm gonna let you do most of the talking, because I sound like one of those creatures on that game, Animal Crossing, you know?
We met in 2003 or four, I believe, in a creative writing workshop that Julia was teaching. It was back when she was first launching what now is her very large and established writing workshop called Sackett Street Writers Workshop. And I was one of her first students to ever sign up for one of those classes. So our friendship began in the world of writing fiction.
Very cool. And how did you figure out how to write together? That's always, I can't do it. I tried to do it with a friend once, and we just pulled the plug. It's like we decided our friendship was more important than the book we were trying to write. So I'm always curious how this comes about.
Really?
Oh. We have a maybe unorthodox system that really works for us. For this book in particular, which, as you know, Kerry, has 4 narrators. And so first of all, we split them up. So each of us were responsible primarily for 2 of those narrators. We had written an outline, a pretty extensive outline before we started writing. And so once we had divvied up our characters, we then started filling out the chapters and the plot and the character evolutions. And then after we completed a draft according to this outline, and with each of us writing 2 of the characters, we essentially switch and work on each other's chapters. And generally, I focus on dialogue and present scene, dramatized scene, and Julia's superpower is thought and interiority, emotion, psychology, exposition. And so we fill in those components of the craft where it was missing. So sort of in combination, we're one strong writer, and we offset each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Well, I love that you're bringing both of your skills together to do it that way. That's really cool.
I think it's very unique to our relationship, because even though I was the teacher of the class that Caeli took, and she participated in many workshops in my kitchen in Brooklyn when I didn't even think I was starting a school. We were at the same level of, intensity and I would say skill. I mean, she came into the workshop with an MFA in poetry and was already writing beautiful fiction. So really what happened was that over the years in Brooklyn, we learned how to write together and how to talk about fiction. And so that shared vocabulary and perspective and sort of mode of reading and interpreting story and character and structure, it was like we were already sharing a brain. So it's really, there's no one else that I would do this with. And, it wasn't easy all the time. We had our moments, but not really about the writing. The writing really, it feels almost miraculous to me, honestly, that we were able to brain meld in this way. But, it's also anytime one of us reads a book that we love, we immediately text each other and, have these really, it's just such a comfort to have somebody in your life that you can share what is normally a very internal, lonely experience, writing, but also reading. I mean, reading is a solitary act between you and the invisible author, so I think we've always really valued that connection, but didn't really think in terms of using it to produce something together. So it was Caeli's idea to write the book. And I was like, sure, not thinking that she would ever mention it again, maybe, but here we are. I'm really proud of us that we did it.
Yeah, I'm proud of you too. It's quite an accomplishment. I mean, just writing a book is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of doing it myself and wishing that I were the kind of person who could do it with somebody else right at the moment. It's one of those developmental edit things where I wrote myself into a corner, but it'll be okay. It'll all be good. I have to know who wrote. Can you tell me who wrote which points of view then? I'm curious.
Sure.
So,
like Caeli mentioned, we started out with two kind of ownership of two characters each. And then as we move forward in the book, reading each other's chapters from, the other character's perspective informed us enough that we were able to kind of dip in to what had been reserved. So Caeli was Zach and Regina.
Okay.
And really a lot of her knowledge base, it would have been hard for me to write about the true, local native Californians, because I've only lived here 5 years, and I wrote Mel and Letty. But then eventually, but Caeli really did most of Regina and Zach. She's really good at the Floridian guy character.
Right. We should tell our listeners a little bit about who these characters are in case they haven't read yet. So Zach is I'm gonna tell you my perspective on them, and then you guys can tell me if I'm getting what you're aiming for. So Zach is this really super good looking, super fit fitness instructor, very charming, has a little sexual problem. I'm gonna say the addiction word because he does not have control over it. Then we have Letty, who is an undocumented Mexican woman who does housework for the ladies of Santa Monica. I love Letty, by the way. I have to ask how you managed to capture that, because I'm guessing that you've done a really good job. Although, I'd like to talk about that a little bit, because that's risky in today's climate to take on a character like that. Letty kind of, she looks at the world and these beautiful, rich, skinny, white, unhappy white women with all of their money, and wonders what is wrong with them, basically, a lot of the time. But she needs them. Then we have Mel, who's kind of the misfit, who has moved in from elsewhere, and she doesn't quite... she's a little heavier. She's a little more sarcastic. She thinks about the world in a little different way. And then Regina is just kind of, on the surface, totally Santa Monica, beautiful housewife, but she's got some issues. So did I get that kind of about right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the key relationship is that Letty is Zach's sister, his half sister, right? And so Zach is half Mexican by birth, but he's passing as white, and Letty is clearly of Mexican heritage, and as you said, a domestic worker. So there's a tension there because the two don't acknowledge they're working for essentially the same people. Zach training the wealthy women of Santa Monica, and Letty cleaning their houses, and they don't let their employers know that they're related.
Right.
I think in many ways that was, one of the most interesting parts of writing the book, was writing about, a half brother and half sister who are living very different lives.
Right.
And both at the whim of, both of them not really having control over their finances. They're really reliant on these extremely wealthy clients.
They're different lives, but beholden to the same group of people.
Right. So how did you, writing from Letty's point of view, trying to get into her head, do you know some people that you talked to? Did you just kind of guess how this would be? I'm just wondering how you guys went about that as writers, because that's such a difficult thing to do, I feel.
It is difficult, and I think it should, it should be difficult in that, when you're writing outside your privileged perspective,
right.
You really should put in the work. And also know that readers might be like, no, this is nonsense, and be open to criticism of it.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to live in Southern California and not know women or, who are in this position, especially right now,
right.
where, it's, I can't, so much harder to be a domestic worker right now with the virus, and especially when we were in quarantine. I mean, we're still, here in LA, we're still in the lowest tier. We can't get out of this. We can't get the virus level down enough for schools to open, and so it's been like a really continuous 7-8 months of, the same. So with Letty, we knew that we needed Letty in the book, otherwise I feel like it would be a really boring, unrealistic depiction of life in Santa Monica. And Caeli and I, I've written characters, who were outside my experience and perspective in my other books because, well, I just feel like it would be irresponsible not to, and just to write, and also, I don't know. I mean, I know that a lot of writers are really sick, writers of color are sick of white writers talking about the importance of empathy, because in many ways, we really do we really deserve to be writing from perspectives that aren't our own and kind of taking ownership of them? That's something that has to be addressed. But I also feel like as a writer, our job is to sort of interrogate humanity on the page and analyze it. And, you know, we knew very early on that we wanted Letty to be sort of a heroine of the novel, you know?
Right. Well, and don't get me wrong, I love that you've done it. I think that it's a tricky thing, and it's something I wrestle with. I'm always curious.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's some books that, you know, are written entirely from the perspective of these marginalized voices that are written by very privileged white writers. And, you know, it's something that everybody should be talking about.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My father was an immigrant from Italy and doesn't speak English very well and has a very, you know, only went up to like 3rd grade in school. And so when I'm writing about people who speak other languages, I mean, Letty is so sophisticated, you know, compared to my father. Like, she's very smart. He's smart too, but there's a level of sophistication that Letty has that's much more developed, you know. And so I think sometimes, you know, I do feel the urge to write about someone out a little bit outside because I grew up with someone who, you know, even though he is obviously a Western, but he, I don't know, it's important to have that perspective, that grounding perspective that's a little bit outside the bubble.
Right. I agree. And then we translate it. I mean, we take what we know and then we change that up as writers when we write. So another thing, okay, this is a little lighter, but I have to know which one of you or both of you has been to the gym and taken classes. Somebody
He's like really good at it.
Yeah, I've always been something of a gym rat, and I ensnared Julia in circuit train at a particular studio that I frequented and sort of roped her into joining me. And so for a time, we were both there quite a bit.
A brief time.
A while. I mean, it was, you know, enough to set our entire book in the world. But yes, the answer is firmly yes. We've spent a lot of time at circuit training together.
It was hard work. Hard.
Oh my goodness. I was just reading, you know, the chapter where Mel goes to her first real circuit training class.
That was fun to write. It was like revenge.
Yeah.
But then, as I got to the end of the chapter and she was, you know, starts to kind of enjoy it almost, I was like, oh my God, this really is how it was. You know, like it was so painful. But then as soon as the rush, you know, of the endorphins and whatever Caeli calls them, I don't know. But, you know, so it was a really fun world with its own lingo and, you know, crazy process. And I really had never done that kind of group gym workout. You know, I was athletic when I was younger, but, you know, you're like high-fiving strangers a lot in those classes. And yeah, I used to look across the room at Caeli and she was doing like, I don't know, she looked like she was in the Olympics or something. And I was just like, oh my God, like, damn, she's really intense.
Not anymore.
A couple of times, but you know, here I am. I need to go back, but now I don't even know if gyms are open. I think they're they're exercising in the gutter or something, right? Are they technically exercising in the gutter?
I don't know about in the gutter, but I see them on the beach and in parking lots a lot.
I feel that I get my exercise if I go outside and kind of run around, play catch with my puppy. That's it for me. I'll get my happy endorphins from happy writing moments and stuff. I think. I'm not up
Those
for
are the
that.
best.
So, Caeli, I wonder, do you have a copy of the book with you by any chance?
I do.
And would you, since you seem to have the better sound, would you be willing to just read us the first page and then
Sure.
we'll tell everybody?
Sure. Excuse me. I should have had it right on here.
Caeli's in her trailer. It's a little trailer that sits in her
driveway. Yeah.
Where she writes.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm very fortunate in these times to have a writing trailer. So here's the cover of the book. I'll read a little from the prologue, which is from Letty's point of view.
Perfect.
Leticia.
I love Letty. She really is my favorite character.
And it, drops you right into the heart of the plot.
Yeah, awesome.
So, Leticia. Her brother lay on the gym floor, a stretchy blue band wrapped around his neck. The kind, Letty knew, that the people who came here to exercise looped around their legs or arms when they hopped and squatted to music so loud it hurt Letty's ears. Her brother's skin was as pale as the marbled kitchen countertops Letty wiped down week after week in the homes of wealthy Santa Monica families. With his face turned toward the wall of mirrors, sea green eyes opened, thick lashes unblinking, it seemed to Letty that he was admiring himself. Do you want me to keep going, or?
A little bit more.
Okay. Letty had often teased Zacharias, her half-white, half-Mexican delinquente of a half-brother, about his love for his own reflection. There he is, she'd say, when she caught him staring at himself in the window of a car, in the door of a microwave, anywhere that offered him a view of his own handsome face and full head of wavy hair, the same coffee color as her own. Your favorite person. Zacharias, she whispered now, nudging his bare leg with the toe of her sneaker, making the muscles in his thigh jiggle. She swallowed a giggle. Her brother loved to make jokes, even out in public. A risk, Letty knew, no brown-skinned man would take these days. But Zacharias lived as a white man, free from fear. Letty was an illegal, full-blooded Mexican. Zacharias a handsome mestizo, an American citizen thanks to his rich Floridian papa. They were both bastards, but Zacharias wore the ultimate disguise, that of a sticky page. That of a white man with a perfect Southern California tan. All the doors and borders open for him.
Perfect. Yeah.
Good job, Caeli.
Thank you.
Nice, very nice. And that just sets up the book so beautifully. A lot of the themes and, what's going on. And then if you read just a little bit farther, you're going to find out that he's not playing a joke. He's actually dead. And I can say that. It's not a spoiler.
Yeah, no spoiler.
Yeah.
And then we go forward into the book and we get to, actually not forward, it drops us back. So you're reading about before, and we get to guess as to what might have happened and who might have killed him. So, it's a great book. Again, the book is called Santa Monica, and we're talking with Julia and Caeli today.
Got it, right? Here's the book.
About Santa Monica, and together they write as Cassidy Lucas, which is a great pen name, by the way. I love it very much. How can readers find you guys if they want to know more about the book, or follow you or whatever? Where can we find you?
Well, Cassidy Lucas has her own Facebook page. She's on Twitter, but, she's not really that active, mostly because I'm active as myself on political Twitter, losing our minds together, So, Caeli's on Instagram.
Well, Cassidy has her own Instagram as well.
Does Cassidy have her own Instagram?
Yeah, okay. So those are really the main places. Cassidy has her own social media. Facebook.
She has her own website called CassidyLucas.com.
CassidyLucas.com. Okay.
And the book is available everywhere. It's available as an audiobook, which is very exciting. We got to choose the narrator.
Nice.
And ebook. it's even available in large print, which I think is pretty cool.
Hey, that's awesome. Yeah.
I know. And so, just Google Cassidy Lucas or
It's
us.
not hard to find.
Yeah. But, we're also, Cassidy Lucas is working on another book.
I was going to ask, what is Cassidy Lucas up to next?
Caeli, can you tell us, since you have no echo?
Sure. She's working on a new book. It's a standalone, not a sequel or anything, but similar in that it's also set in Southern California, this time in Topanga Canyon. The working title of the book is The Canyon, and it centers around a group of friends who ascend to a high remote property in Topanga Canyon to celebrate a 50th birthday party, and what happens over the course of those 2 days. It doesn't go entirely smoothly, we'll just say.
I'm going to get that from what you write.
Yeah.
One thing before we wander off and I let you guys go here, I do want to mention that I came to this book expecting it to be a thriller, and it is. We have a mystery, we have a killer, but it's very much in many ways also what I would call women's fiction. We have, you're really developing those issues of what do we want out of life, and where are we, and what's happening with my marriage, and what's the meaning of all this. And so it really crosses several different genres, and I want to make sure that people understand that they're getting a deeper read than just kind of a thriller-ish fun thing.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. I think we both set out, Julie and I have both published 2 novels each individually under our own names that were more squarely categorized as literary fiction. And so while we set out to write a more commercial leaning page turner, we found that we still had to tell the story and write the characters our way. So it did end up being not as easily classifiable as we thought, and we're very pleased that it ended up having more layers and more complexity than maybe we had even expected.
That's awesome. I'm pleased with that. I like things that blur the genre lines personally a lot, especially when it carries some depth like that and makes me think and ask questions. So,
I mean, I'm sort of shocked that we were able to move as far from literary fiction, because writing, you do know that writing is so hard, and you have to enjoy it. You have to lose yourself in it. And so for us, writing about complex characters is why we write in many ways. Sure. We love the story, and that was what our hope was, that our love for story would sort of transcend this more traditional, we both went to MFA graduate programs in writing. So we got the very traditional kind of, thought process.
Yeah.
Yet we both really love thrillers and story, and I love true crime and crime fiction. So I'm I'm just excited that we actually had a real plot. And this next book is even more of a twisty plot. So I think anytime you make a big change, it's like baby steps,
Right.
I think doing that together gave us the courage to shift genres. Actually, and it was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, congratulations on the book. It's beautiful, and I hope that it is extremely successful for you. I wish you all the rest of the luck with the next one. Thank you again for being here. You guys, you can find Cassidy Lucas at CassidyLucas.com or on Facebook, but you also can look up Julia Fierro and Caeli Wolfson Widger. And see what they've written as their individual selves, because if you like the Santa Monica book, then you may well like what they've done. Actually, I'm just curious now. So
you'll like it. Thank you, Kerry.
All right, thanks for being here. I'm sorry if you were listening for any technical, not perfect sound. We did the best we could for you. Please be back again next week when I'll have another awesome guest. And in the meantime, read a good book, and you might consider Santa Monica. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Oh, dear.